Okay. Uh, Buenos dias, everyone. Uh, what Marina show you is actually part of our class. This is a biodiversity. You see different type of, plants mostly over there. And then when we also hiking yesterday, you should be able to see at least the plants because they're there, right? They are not moving away. And then you may be, observing different type of plants that we mentioned in our lecture last time. You may be wondering, during your hiking, which one is epiphyte, which one is epiphyll, which one is liana, which one is bromeliads, kind of things. Okay, so it's part of your, lecture, practical observation, exploration, and also just behind our house over here, Marina's house, you see the garden. There are also several type of plant that also live in the forest. Okay, now we'll continue our ecosystem. Last time, I believe we are still in the lentic freshwater ecosystem. What is lentic freshwater ecosystem again?
Running water.
Lentic.
Oh,
Lentic. We talk about lake and pond. What is that?
still water.
Still water or standing water? Non-flowing freshwater ecosystem. So we finish with lake and pond. Usually on the lake and pond, you don't really see plants in on the pelagic area, right? They only live in what we call the littoral area or zones. And there are three types of plants again that live around that littoral zone. You still remember? The one that the whole body is actually inside the water. What do you call that type of plant? Submerged plant. And then the one that the leaf mostly, most of the part will be floating, but actually the root is actually going down to the soil. What do you call that?
Floating.
Floating. It's not that difficult, right? And then the last one, the one that sometimes get water, sometimes not, like cattail, for example. What do you call that? Emerging, or emergent or emerging plant. That's the lake or maybe pond. There are another type of lentic freshwater ecosystem that also have water, but the water mostly shallow, right? Therefore, you will find a lot of plants or trees on that places within the water. If the plant is big, like trees, this area is called swamp. Swamp or swamp? Swamps. Okay, it's called swamp. So swamp is a type of wetland. So the whole thing is called wetland. Right? Swamp is the type of wetland when you see a lot of trees, big trees, growing on that place. If you visit Louisiana, maybe you're gonna see a lot of swamp area. Therefore, they also have a TV program. It's called, I think, Swamp People, right? Yeah. So they sometimes have the house within that wetlands. That's a swamp. Now, if the plant is shorter, like mostly grasses, and maybe some bushes, that wetland is called marsh or marshes. Remember, when we talk about marine ecosystem, there is also marshes, but the difference is the other one is called the salt marsh. This one is just marsh, mean it's freshwater marsh, right? So mostly you're gonna see a lot in the wetland area. Again, this is a type of wetland. And the third type of wetlands, okay, I don't know where I have been in this place and all this place, the swamp, the marsh, and the last one is called bogs. BOG, bogs. This one is very unique because under the water, it's also going up. It's like no soil. It is actually plant. It's called the peat mosses. Okay? You actually walk on that plant, and because that plant is, is very what you call interwinged, like making a web kind of structure, we actually able to walk on the top of that peat moss. And then when you walk it, you just like flying a little bit because it's not soil. So it's kind of moving like a shaking, like this. Okay. Yeah, I visited this place before in my country. We have a lot of peat mosses, bogs. Okay. Now they change it, become land. They convert this into farmland. What they do, they're making a canal. Therefore, the water is out, and then that peat mosses become soil. They can take the peat moss and then become a soil. They put mostly paddy field. Okay, so they change that place into paddy fields, which is a type of farmland. So this is the three type of still lentic or lotic. This is still lentic. The water is not flowing, right? So wetland. It's called the wetlands, maybe swamp, marshes, or bogs. Okay. We done. We done with the lentic freshwater ecosystem. Now we go to the next one. What is after lentic? Lotic. What does lotic mean? Flowings. What is examples? The big one is called rivers. What? Rivers. What is the biggest river?
The Nile River.
I think it's in here in South America.
Mississippi.
It's in the forest is really famous. The Amazon River. Amazon River is actually the biggest river. It's holding a lot of fresh water over there. Okay, maybe 25% of fresh water is actually in that river, the Amazon River. It's a big river in the Amazon forest. Okay, United States, what is the biggest river? And the longest river. Just the longest river is easier. Anybody know what is the longest river in United States? Ohio will go to that one, Mississippi River. So Mississippi River, Kentucky River meet with the Ohio River then meet with the Mississippi River from the north, and then finally and into the Gulf. Yeah, Mississippi. So that's called the Mississippi. That's the longest river in United. What is the longest river in the world? This is in Africa actually.
Oh, Nile River.
Nile River. That's the longest river here in the world. Okay. So river, that's the first type of lotic freshwater. If it is smaller, what do you call it? Stream, or sometimes we call it creeks. Yeah, stream, creeks. That's a type of lotic freshwater ecosystem. Okay, now this lotic freshwater ecosystem is actually the ecosystem over there is continuously changed. You see that one? Because the river in the mountain, in the source, will be very different ecosystem with the rivers that end into the ocean. Their ecosystem, their plants, their animals, their fish, totally different. But it is continuously changed like that. Okay, because this is continue system, from the first until the end. Therefore, in many cases, a river can be also used as what we call the indicator for pollution. Okay, so you can actually collect the organism from the river, from one place to another place, okay, from one side to another side, and comparing them. Especially if you interested in, like, for example, environmental science, environmental pollution, you can actually kind of identify how, for example, if government try to build a factory or industry within close to the river, then you actually can compare, the organism before the industry and after the industry. If it is changed a lot, especially if causing the distractions, losing a lot of organism from the river, that industry actually is not good for that environment. But there are some industry that is actually don't really change the ecosystem on the river system, especially if they follow maybe the rule and the law that is given by the government. They actually have to, like, for example, test their water annually and etc. I used to be the tester for Kentucky river system. So they actually send, this is actually state. There is a government in the state is called the water department or something like that. They take the sample from the river that close to industry. I usually take they usually bring the sample from the what is the place in close to the Ashland that have the oil refinery over there. I forget that. This is very close to my my place actually. So they send the water from there and then send it to our lab in UK. That's what when I was still in UK. I was still a student, and then my professor gave me this, a job responsibility to check whether this water is good or not. Okay, so we're using what we call the bioassays, which is using the water fleas, and then you see whether this water flea is able to reproduce or whether they die, survive or not with this polluted water. Then from that, I can make, the recommendations, the report that this water is blah and blah and blah, and then they're gonna make a decisions in the state government. Okay, so that's the examples, we can use the river system as the indication whether there is pollution or not. It doesn't have to be industry. Maybe if that river, passing the city, the population, for example, you can also measure how much distraction, how much pollution that is caused by that population or that city. Okay, can you follow this? Okay, that's the river ecosystem or lotic freshwater ecosystem. Do you have a question for this? It's good? Okay, now, let me check my... Okay, that's good. I thought I forgot to push the, the record button. Okay, we basically done with this type of ecosystem. Remember, there are two main type of ecosystem, terrestrial and aquatic. We done of the. Now we're gonna discuss a little bit what we call the succession, ecological succession. What is ecological succession? Anybody can give me the maybe kind of comment or opinion or answer. What is the succession?
It's when like an ecosystem kind of changes. It can either be like it's first time changing or it's multiple times.
And then finally, usually it will create what we call the stable ecosystem. It's called the climax ecosystem. So from the pioneer plants into the climax or stable ecosystem. Examples is the rainforest. Rainforest is a stable ecosystem, right? So it has a lot of big tree, old tree, and etc. Okay, that's the succession. Changing of community from pioneer into the climax community. You got this one? Now, there are two types. So we're gonna learn the theory first. There are two types of ecological successions. First is called primary. Primary succession. Okay. And second, if we have primary, what do you call is going to be the second? Secondary succession. Okay. Now, what is the difference? Can you tell? Anybody can tell what is the difference between primary successions and secondary succession? You can guess. You can guess. What do you think, Elmer? What is primary, do you think?
I think primary is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm thinking about is kind of like a different type of speciation.
Yes, it could be. Yeah.
Or like maybe the niche and habitat sort of changes.
Changing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of them, primary, secondary, there is a changing in community. But what is the main difference between this primary and secondary? Primary, this is the succession that starts from nothing, from empty space. From empty, I mean not empty space, I mean there is from no living things before. Okay, that's a primary. Examples. Okay, if there is an eruption in the volcano, what happened with that area? They're all gone. They all die. Nothing alive. It's become just what? Rock, sand, and etc. Eh? And then after maybe several years, that rock and sands become, there is a lot of rains, blah, 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 blah. And then it's going to be growing small type of plants. This is what we call mostly called the bryophytes, mosses. Small, really small. You will not find suddenly the big trees over there. And then after years, that mosses, because that mosses start to make creating kind of a soil from the rock and from the sand. Now it's become soily, become humid, and then what happened? There are other bigger plants will growing, mostly in the group of what we call the ferns. Ferns, they have sporophyte, they have spores that able to land on that soil and then growing. Okay, and then suddenly after that, these ferns can also, attract many animals, small animal, maybe small bird, and the bird maybe carry some seed, right, or some spore from other plant. Now you're gonna start to see the grasses growing over there, and then after grasses, you see the bushes, and then finally after years, there will be more bigger plants and trees. That's what we call the primary succession. From empty, non-living, there is no life on that place, into a climax. But sometimes it takes years. Now, you used to remember when we hike on the volcano, Ariel volcano, on the top, when we take a lot of picture over there, do you see bigger tree? What do you see over there? That's actually, they are still in the very first stage of the succession. Right? They are not climax yet. But if you're going down a little bit to the bottom, and on the other part, some already in the climax condition. Okay, you follow this? That's the primary succession. What is the secondary succession? This is the successions in the place that already have the living life before. Example, forest. And then suddenly there is a fire in the forest. Mostly that fire will kill most of the bigger trees, right? All plants is die. But do you think all plants will die, or do you think the seed will stay, some of them over there? Yes. Right? So that place, then it can change again, little by little, into the climax. And the climax usually very similar from the old climax that they have before the destruction, before the fire. You can follow this? This is secondary succession, which is,
Can bogs be a form of secondary succession?
Bogs, it could, yeah. Bogs is really easy to get fire actually. So the peat moss in the box area. Therefore, sometimes when I visit them, they say I'm not smoking, but some people smoking. They say if you smoke, don't just throw it away to that box, to the peat moss, because it's burned. But mostly, because that condition, the ecological, habitat is like that, it will never be the climax. You can follow this. Some ecosystem, their climax is just like that. Box, that's climax, because that condition, there is no soil, right? It's just kind of floating box, will not be able to be used by the big or large trees, because the trees need what? They have the roots, they need soil, right? So the box, yes, can be do succession, but mostly just the climax is just like that. Okay, good question. Hey, any other question? The swam is maybe also the same, right? Mostly just like that. So that's their climax. And marsh is the same. That's their climax, right? But the rainforest, that's actually the final climax for many succession. Right? Okay. Okay. This is here. If from this picture, can you tell whether this is the primary or secondary?
Primary.
This is primary because it's coming from nothing, from non-living, just from the rock. Okay? So the picture that you have on your PowerPoint, it is a primary succession. But remember, there is another type of succession. It's called a secondary succession. Okay, we already talked about this last time, which is the functions of the rainforests or the forests. Okay, mostly for the primary producers, and then also for the nutrient cycle. They are also used as a carbon sinks, especially carbon dioxide sinks, and they are home for many organisms. They are habitat for many organisms. Even within the ecosystem, there is another smaller ecosystem on the tropical rainforest. Okay. Is there any question for the one that we did? Yes.
Can there be an ecosystem in the carbon sink?
Carbon sinks, carbon sinks is the process when the plant, we talk about, let's say talk about plant, when the plant is actually absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. That's what we call the carbon sink. It's actually reduce the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That's carbon sink mean. Okay. Now, because there are so many plants and trees in the tropical rainforest, therefore they are becoming the best carbon sink, the best ecosystem that will absorb so many carbon dioxide. If we cut them, then what happens? Carbon dioxide will be increased, the concentration increase the atmosphere. And one of the scare of this is what we call the climate change, which is also called the global warming, because this carbon dioxide can hold the heat that coming reflected from the earth and then returning it back to the earth. You can imagine that. Just like, covering the atmosphere of the earth with the cloud, when the heat enter from the sun, it's actually some of them reflected back to the atmosphere, right? But because of this layer of these greenhouse gases, that heat is trapped and returned back to the earth. And what happened? Earth become hotter, and hotter. And this is what we call the global warming. Okay, that's the meaning of carbon sinks, right? Which is absorbing carbon. Yeah, carbon sink can be in any place, especially the one that have greens, the one that have plants and trees. Okay, any other question? No? Okay. I think I will not give you a lot of things today. Yeah, we can just, learn little by little. And then, of course, most of our learning also coming from the exploration and observations in the field. And then the one that you just did with Marina, it will be important later when we talk about biodiversity of plants. We're gonna go back to this lecture from Marina when we talk about the biodiversity of plant. We're gonna learn a little by little, like we're gonna start with the biodiversity of prokaryotes first, and then after that protists, after that fungi, after that plant, and after that we're gonna learn about animals. When we learn about plant and animal, mostly you're gonna, your book is gonna be really useful because a lot of picture on that book that help you to identify different type of plants and animal. And I was very excited. Yes, I mean excited. I was very excited. Well, excited, right? Sometimes I don't know when we use exciting or excited. Which one is
Excited.
excited? I was very excited yesterday because we able to find that quetzal, right? Male and female. You know, Seti, our coordinators, she said that he visited that place 5 times, only twice see the quetzal. And not like us, not like in my picture, we have both male and female at the same time. I was so impressed to myself because I was able to filming that quetzal, especially the male, which is very, very exotic, really, really, really beautiful. And this is, it's not that easy actually to find it. And we did. We did. Yeah. I almost cry when I film. Don't talk, don't talk. It's just a precious moment for me. I hope this is a precious moment also for you, especially taking this class. See, I'm crying now. I'm crying now because I'm so happy. I'm so happy in this place. Okay? I hope you're happy. It's man. Why you laughing? I'm crying. Yeah, sometimes I feel, kind of touching the situation, and that situation is really, I don't know how to say it, but it's a very precious moment. It's really precious. Yeah.
I aspire to be like you.
Okay. When you're growing up, you're gonna be like me. Yes. Thank you, Elmar. Anybody have question? If not, we finish. Just a reminder, your assignment is due today. I might change the due date for assignments later because we don't really meet actually, during Saturday and Sunday. I might change the assignment due maybe on Monday and then start on, Tuesday. So I can return it back to you on Tuesday. You can start a new assignment. Okay, but if you have it now, you can give it to me. If not, just give it to me when we see again, which is on Monday. So we're gonna change that. Okay. I don't want you to go to my place just to submit the assignment. Just give it to me. If you're not finished yet, just give it to me on Monday when we have class again. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's okay, right?
Finished with it, but I also use the same notebook for Spanish.
Oh, you use it first for the Spanish first. Then give it to me on Monday. I will finish it as soon as possible, and Tuesday morning I will give it back to you, so you can use it for, Spanish.
Sound good?
Nah, okay, sounds good. I'll see you in the class tomorrow. Okay? Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Okay.